position ourselves, we are in a kingdom now, ruled by the one God chose, not a king that we choose ourselves. Well, those Israelites, by the way, Revelation 1 verse 5 simply describes Christ again as the king over all things, the king over all things to us. But this led to Saul being anointed as the first king over Israel. And next week we're going to start looking at how Saul became king, what brought forth his anointing as their king, and what kind of start he had. Actually, it wasn't so bad. Saul began to be a fairly effective king, especially at fighting the battles that the people wanted him to fight for them. However, next week we're going to start looking at the downfall of Saul, which leads us from a king to kings, which will follow. For this afternoon, just remember, if you will, we've been looking at some principles from the Old Testament. From my perspective, as we study the Old Testament, one of the most important things we look for are principles that God shows us by his interaction with all these people. And one of the most important principles here is for us to recognize that God is in charge. He is the ruler. He is the king. This afternoon, we would ask you to think seriously about your relationship with God. Do you allow him to be the king? He is the king, but we have to be those who willingly submit to him. He expects us to make the choice to be his servant. If you're with us tonight and you haven't made that step of obedience to the gospel, which we know from Acts chapter 2 is how the Lord adds us to the church, those who are being saved, we're told. If that's not what you've done, then please consider what you should do. Shouldn't you allow God to reign in your life by obeying the gospel? And like we studied this morning, it's God's plan that we know him and obey the gospel in order to be saved from destruction to come. Yes, that destruction will come, just like it came to Eli when God prophesied that he would be destroyed along with his family. The song we're about to sing, number 304, simply asks, why do you wait? And that would be a good question for any of us. Why would we wait when it's so urgent that we be obedient to God? We hope that you'll consider this and come.